Oh my goodness, this is actually happening. James Harden is being traded. I knew it was a matter of time for him to get traded, but I actually thought that it was going to be going to the 76ers. I had no idea that they would actually be able to pull it off in Brooklyn, but somehow they were actually able to do it. This is absolutely unbelievable. Also, when you think about it, they didn't even have to give up that much. The Brooklyn Nets, they did have to do a three-way deal with the Cleveland Cavaliers, but they didn't even have to give up Spencer Dinwiddie, and I know he's injured, but still. Shams and Adrian Wojnarowski just recently reported that James Harden will be traded to the Brooklyn Nets, and we will have a big three of Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Kyrie Irving. Now, I'm not too sure how much better this is actually going to make the Brooklyn Nets, because when you ask me, I was thinking about the Brooklyn Nets. I was thinking about their depth. They are so deep as a team, it is absolutely ridiculous. And the fact that they were able to sacrifice some of that depth to get James Harden is kind of crazy. I'm not too sure if this makes this better. What I believe is that now the Brooklyn Nets are a complete chemistry experiment. In the last news, James Harden and Kyrie Irving have been in the news all the time. They're the two most talked about athletes right now because of the drama, and now you have both of them on the same team. You also have to figure out who's going to become the third option, because I'm not too sure Kyrie's happy with becoming the third option. I don't know how happy he's going to be playing off the ball. It's just going to be such a chemistry experiment. You don't know how much longer James Harden's going to be happy in Brooklyn, because he might have to have the ball out of his hands. You know that's an issue with him the entire time in Houston, so who's to say that he's not going to carry that into the Brooklyn Nets? All in all, this kind of just stacks the deck again for Kevin Durant. He kind of just made a super team again. So kind of the narrative that he wanted to dispatch was that he could win a championship without a super team. It's not to say that he can't disprove it, but when you have James Harden and Kyrie Irving as your teammates and you have a bench, you're kind of expected to make the finals. Now, like, Kevin Durant has to make the finals. If he doesn't, then it's going to be an absolute failure, because there's just absolutely no way that a team that is that loaded should not make the finals. It has to be, especially in the Eastern Conference. You have to come out of the East. There's just no other way. The Brooklyn Nets are now absolute super teams. Now, do I go back on my pick that the Lakers are going to win the championship? No, but this does make it a little bit more iffy, because this team is now loaded. The Brooklyn Nets are loaded, but they did sacrifice a bunch of their bench. I think what Jarrett Allen provides is a little bit underrated, because he is their best center. It is not DeAndre Jordan. I know he signed there because he wanted to play with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, but Jarrett Allen is a better center than DeAndre Jordan this season. There is absolutely no dispute. And you gave up Karis LeVert, who is an off-the-ball offensive creator, and he can play defense. So when you think about it, they really did sacrifice a whole bunch of their depth, and now at this point, they're kind of loaded, and I'm not too sure if the Lakers can really win it at this point. I do have them winning the championship because I did pick them before the season starts, so I'm not moving off of it. But man, this is going to be a big thing, because the ceiling for them is a championship, but this does have a lot of potential of going wrong. Let me be very clear with that. This team has a lot of potential, but it can go either way in a matter of seconds. If people start getting unhappy, then this is going to go south real quick. Also, the defensive pressure that is going to be on Kevin Durant is going to be exponentially higher, because now when you get rid of Karis LeVert and Jarrett Allen, you're taking a lot of your defense away. So now Kevin Durant, who is a good defender because he is long and he can, cover a lot of space, he's going to have to step up defensively if they're going to win a championship, because you need defense to win a championship. They're going to be very offensively potent. That was already from the beginning, even without James Harden. But with James Harden, they're going to be putting up points in a frenzy, but they got to get back on defense and defend, because we all know James Harden isn't the best defender. He has gotten better, and I think people do overrate just how bad of a defensive player he is. He's a good post defender, but he's not that great of a on-ball defender. Kyrie's not really known as a defender, and like I said, all the pressure is going to be on Kevin Durant to provide that type of defensive pressure when they start getting matched up against the better teams, because he's going to have to step up defensively if they want to make it out of the East. All in all, I'm just not too sure how much this is going to benefit the Brooklyn Nets as a totality, because they did sacrifice so much of their defense, and of course they sacrificed their bench. There's no Spencer Dinwiddie this season because he's injured, so you really do have a starting five of Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, James Harden, Joe Harris, and basically DeAndre Jordan. But outside of that bench, you start looking at it, they do have Landry Shamet and they do have Jeff Green, but I mean, I'm not too sure about that bench. It's looking a little suspect. So during the playoffs, Kevin Durant is going to have to play lots of minutes. Their entire starting five is going to be playing lots of minutes because there's no way that they can sit on the bench and just watch, because they don't have that great of a bench anymore because they sacrificed it to get James Harden. What does this mean for the Houston Rockets? It basically means that the Houston Rockets now have a decent team. They'll be a little bit 6 through 8, maybe even fall off. I'm not too sure, but I think they'll make the playoffs still. And they're getting Victor Oladipo, which is absolutely crazy. So when you really think about it, they're getting Victor Oladipo, John Wall, Karis LeVert. They're going to have a decent team. I still believe that they'll be in the playoffs and they're going to be a good team. And at the same time, they got all those picks. So even for the future, if this doesn't work out, they have those picks, which is going to help them tremendously. So all in all, it is win now when it comes to the Brooklyn Nets. They have to win. There's no other way. If they don't win, then it's going to be a complete failure. The pressure is on Kevin Durant at this point. And like I said, there's just too many factors when it comes to this Brooklyn Nets team. I would have to see how it operates, how to see how players play, and who's going to be the third option once again. I just don't know who's going to be that third option and who's going to take a step back offensively to let the other two players do their thing, because I just don't know what's going to happen. Also, if Kyrie Irving doesn't come back sooner than later, then they're not going to build enough chemistry, and then they're not going to know who's going to defer to who, and it's just going to be a complete mess, which is why I believe that this can go really bad very quickly if things don't get into measure very fast. Also, as a side note, apparently they're sending Karis LeVert to the Pacers and he's not going to the Rockets, so I just want to make that clear. Karis LeVert is going to the Pacers, not the Rockets, just as a side note. But like I said, there's going to be so many questions when it comes to this Brooklyn Nets team. They do have high potential, but man, this thing can go bad quick. It is the definition of a chemistry experiment. Whatever happens, happens, and because they have bad depth, it's going to be needed to be seen. And when you think about their salary, they don't have much salary at all. They have 3 players under a max contract: Kyrie, Kevin Durant, and James Harden, and they signed Joe Harris to that big contract. I think it was like 4 years, 60 million or even 80 million. I'm not too positive. So you have 4 players under big contracts. So even if you want to go out and get a better bench, you just don't have the money to afford it. So like I said, this can go really bad really quickly when you consider that they don't have a good bench. A lot of pressure is going to be on Kevin Durant now to be good offensively and defensively, because they're going to need it in order for them to win. And we all know how Kyrie's kind of going up and down with his mental state right now, and he might not even play that many games in order for them to build chemistry. So hey, whatever happens, happens. I'm still picking the Lakers to win this championship just because I feel like they're gelling well and they're more of a team unit. But we are going to have to see. The first Brooklyn Nets versus Lakers game is going to be a show, because man, I can't wait to see what this team has. But I do believe that the Brooklyn Nets are going to suffer a little bit defensively. That is just my opinion, and they do need to be seen. It is way too early to decide what this team is going to do and where they're going to be come playoff time, because there are just so many question marks surrounding this team. But that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you guys so much. If you listen this far, please subscribe to the channel. It means so much. And please drop a like on this video. And please comment down below what you think about this monstrosity of a trade. It's absolutely insane, and I can't believe this is happening. But that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you guys so much, and I am out. Peace.